So I'm currently working on a concept of a headphone stand for the Zinc challenge in product design. See what kinds of things that I do to make the design sketching process work for a product designer. Today I'm going to do some sketches in Photoshop. I will be using Photoshop, but you can really do any of these things in any other digital sketching program on the computer. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do to set up the document is to make a 20 by 20 inch document of artboard. And I like to do, instead of 300, it seems to be a little bit too perfect, the lines. So I usually like to do 200, and there we go. Okay. And so immediately it's going to come out as a regular layer. So what I like to do is make a new one and leave the background. And then I like to right click on that layer and select artboard from layers. And then I can just name it artboard 1. Because I like to work in layers when I'm drawing, so that when I need a new page, I can just click these little icons when I need a new page, and that's really quick. So I'm going to select the first layer and leave the background layer alone. I'm going to select the first layer, and then I'm going to go into my brush tool that I have set as a shortcut on the pen, and I like using this glide sketch pencil by Kyle. I got I don't know his last name, but I got this mega pack from Kyle. You can find it online. You can search Kyle Photoshop brushes on adobe.com, and it'll show up with this. It's just a huge mega pack of a bunch of brushes that look like and mimic traditional media. So I like this glide sketch pencil a lot. That's what I usually use, because it looks and feels kind of like a regular pencil. And so my shortcuts, on my tablet, I have the pen set to undo and the brush key. So when, let's say I'm kind of constructing something and I want to move it, I can press V on the keyboard and I can move that around if you can grab it right. Sometimes you have to press the lasso tool, select it, and then press V, and then move it around. Okay, am I on a different layer? I am, okay, so I accidentally, sometimes you have to make sure that you're drawing on the right layer. So I was on the background layer. So if you're on layer 1, you're drawing, you press V and lasso, let's see. Okay, what's going on here? It's on that layer again. Okay, there we go. So it kept moving to the background layer, I don't know why. Not perfect at Photoshop. I run into problems quite often, but I just do what works for me. So that's working now. And then I just press E on the keyboard. I use the keyboard on my computer instead of the shortcuts on my tablet, just because I think it's easier to do it on the keyboard. I have a few shortcuts on my tablet, but I leave most of it for the keyboard. Usually I like to try and sketch in 2D first, just because it's a lot quicker to just see if a certain idea has potential. And it's a lot less commitment, and it doesn't have to be pretty, because obviously this is very, very rough. As long as you know what you're drawing and you kind of have it in your head and you can understand the shape, that's all you need for this initial stage. And I don't try and do too many details, especially in this initial part. Very, very messy. Very construction. I just like to lay out kind of a rough idea of what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking that maybe this little middle part that I drew can be an LED. So I'm just gonna write LED and then maybe controlled the D by your phone. Because I don't know, it's just an idea right now. So I'm gonna have to make a few cuts here and there in the while I'm filming, just to check if my phone is still filming, because I am filming on my iPhone, so I just want to make sure that it doesn't turn off or anything. So I'm thinking this could be a rubber bottom, the base, to keep it stable. And then, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. So then I just move on to the next one. Sometimes if I have an idea, then I will copy and paste. I just press L for lasso. I circle it, and then I press V on the keyboard, hold Option. You get these two arrows, and you click and drag. Sometimes I press Shift to keep it on the X-axis. Let go, press Command D, and then get back to the brush tool. And then sometimes I check to see if I'm still on the right layer. Sometimes I accidentally create a new layer. I don't want that. And then I could just quickly erase. Again, it doesn't have to be pretty, obviously. Very, very rough. As long as you can understand what you're doing. So maybe I want a power button right here to turn it on and off. Might be too tall, the power button. I might just have one button, or I might not have any buttons. I like products that are very minimalistic. Products that have a very simple form and simple function, that do or perform that function very, very well. And that makes it easier for the consumer to use. User allowances, I think that's what they're called. They're basically kind of hints or user affordances, that's what they're called. They're kind of forms or structures on a product that kind of let you know psychologically what a certain thing or function of that product does. It doesn't tell you explicitly with text on it, but it's just a form or a flow of a product that gives you a hint as to what it may do. It's kind of hard to explain. So right now I'm kind of just making random shapes just to see if I can come up with something. I know I think I want like a cylindrical water bottle type shape for the entirety. And I don't want any extra kind of, I don't know, I think I just want it to be a flat, clean shape is what I'm going for, because I think that looks the fanciest. Because it's a headphone stand, it's going on your desk, and headphones are expensive, so you don't want to put an expensive headphone on a kind of cheapish looking product. And I think products that have a very minimalist look to them look more expensive, in my opinion. So right now I'm kind of thinking of a way to turn on and off the stand to control the lighting. And I'm thinking this could be some kind of trigger. but it doesn't seem that that would look very nice, but I'm drawing it out anyways, just because it's always good to draw out the ideas that you think are not as good, because you need to get the bad ideas before you can get the good ones. And I have no idea where I'm going with this one, or any of them actually. I'm just exploring different shapes. I do like the idea of a middle LED strip, but I want you to be able to control it so you can turn it on and off and change the color, maybe with an app. And not on the product itself, because I want the product to be clean. And so actually that gave me an idea. Maybe, because I'm not thinking I want buttons on this. So maybe because this LED strip kind of is in the middle already, it kind of splits the product in half already. Maybe the two sides of the product, so side A and side B, can be just giant buttons. So that might be better, instead of having kind of visible buttons on there. So side A, side B, maybe side A turns it on. So I'll say power. And side B, connection to Bluetooth for your phone, because it would be an app. So I'll just do a little Bluetooth symbol. And still very, very rough. I am drawing kind of the same shape, just because I have been working on the idea for this for a day, but I'm just wanting to kind of give a little bit of insight into how a product design student would set up a Photoshop document for design drawing. Because a lot of people still draw with a pencil and paper. There's nothing wrong with that, but I like technology and I like Photoshop. So if you want to learn how to draw in Photoshop, okay, so I think as far as materials go, I think that the two sides, like the main part right here, would be zinc, because that's the main material that I need in this concept. And then the top part where the headband, I guess, would rest, that would probably need to be rubber. I don't really want to make anything kind of plastic, so I'm thinking more of a matte finish throughout, so like a matte black rubber, and then this, the zinc would be kind of silver. And then at the bottom, I'm thinking that maybe these radiuses in the corner would kind of tip over, because once you put the headset on, you don't want the headphone stand to be rocking when you put it on. You want it to be stable. And even though zinc is a heavy material and it's vibration dampening, you still want, you don't want it to be rocking around. You don't want it to fall down on the desk. And especially since it's a, kind of a pillar shape, you don't want that to be rocking around. You want it to be very stable. So for the sake of the video, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into some simple perspective drawings. I'm not quite finished with the 2D silhouettes that I've been doing, but I just want to show you how you can use some of the tools in Photoshop to make drawing in perspective really, really easy. So the first thing is I've been holding Shift and drawing straight lines. So if you just draw a straight line in general, like, you know, it's normal. But if you hold Shift and you draw, it turns out straight. Even if you draw circles, I'm drawing a circle right now and it's still straight. So I use that all the time. Just to get a center axis, it's really, really helpful. And to draw some quick shapes, it's super, super helpful. And since you're drawing digitally, you don't have to worry about getting a perfect kind of go around the first time like you would with a pen and paper, which is kind of the main thing about digital drawing, which is why I love it so much. So I think I'm gonna go like this. Hold Shift and draw a straight line. I think I want this cylinder to be a little taller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press L on the keyboard. I'm gonna select only this ellipse if I can. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just cleaner. And then press V on the keyboard. And then since I'm not copying and pasting, I'm just gonna get this scissor icon on the mouse, and then I'm gonna just hold and drag. You can press Shift as well to keep it on the same axis. You can go over here as well. And I'm just gonna hold Shift and bring it down a bit. I want it to be fairly tall, but not too tall. So maybe around there, and then you can just go back and keep drawing. And sometimes when you go back, you can't draw. That's because the selection is still selected. So you're kind of just masking out what you just selected, so you can't draw. So you just have to deselect by holding Command D on the keyboard, and then now you're deselected. You can go back to drawing. I actually just learned that like last week, and I never knew why that happened, but now I do, and I'm glad I know, because that happens all the time. Clearly, I'm not an expert in Photoshop. Actually, fun fact, I do have an Adobe certification in Photoshop, but I got it like 4 years ago, and that was during high school. And now I've forgotten almost everything. And that was a photo editing certification, so not even the right thing, but oh well. So now I'm just trying to get decent looking curve on here for the notch at the top. So I'm thinking this distance is too much, because it's gonna be too much of a dip. So I'm gonna do the same thing that I did to the bottom, except I'm going to move it up instead of down. So press V on the keyboard, move it up while holding Shift, go back to the brush, Command D to deselect, and then now you are back. So Photoshop is very, very quick for design sketching if you know how to use the tools. Very, very handy. It's also really, really nice for renders. When you're doing a nice and pretty render for a portfolio or a presentation, or for school assignments, if you're a college student like me. Very, very helpful for render sketches. I haven't taken a design drawing class in a while. I took my last one last year, I think. So I haven't had to do that in a while, but I still use Photoshop for design sketching all the time. Because even if you're not a huge fan of design sketching, after you take your last design drawing classes, you're still going to be drawing all the time. So once you're done with your design sketching classes, don't expect to be not drawing anymore, because it's a good skill to have. Digital sketching is also really, really nice, because if you need to have really smooth lines like I'm trying to get right now, smooth curves, especially for contour lines like I'm trying to get, it's really easy to just do 50 goes at it until you get the perfect one. I'm a perfectionist, so I'm not going to stop until I get the right one. Most people would stop at the second one, which is totally fine, because these sketches do not have to look very good, but I'm a perfectionist, which is a curse, clearly right now. I can leave it at that. Still not perfect, because right here, this line ends right there and it should be right there, but come on, that's, you know. So I'm not going to do a whole lot more than this. I have been working on this headphone stand for a day or two already. So this was kind of just a revamp, just to show you guys how I would go through a Photoshop workflow for design sketching. I know a lot of people, especially in my grade at school at university, in the product design program, they're still drawing with pen and paper, which is totally fine, because we did learn that way at university. But I like technology, and technology makes things easier for a lot of people. And I'm used to technology. So Photoshop makes it so much easier, so much more fast and more fun to draw, and it helps. This video was just a little insight into how I sketch product design in Photoshop. So thanks for watching. I'll be posting next week on Tuesday. I'm gonna try and post every Tuesday. This is the second video, so I'm not really sure how the schedule is gonna be, but yeah, thanks for watching.